empezar el training. Switch to English, guys. Let's practice. All right. So we are on the training, and the last class we saw part 2. Okay. Last class we were studying part 2 in the audio and how it works. Okay. And also we already heard it. I have a question for you. Did you see this exercise or you didn't?
No, no.
No?
No, I didn't.
Okay, then in this moment we are going to listen to it again. Okay, we have 2 answers in this moment. We have answer for number 1 and number 2.
Okay.
So after we play the audio twice, we will check 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
Okay. Let's get familiar with the options. Read number 1, Robert.
Okay. The first old ship which Frank found was covered by rocks, older than he first thought, easy to find.
Good. Do you have any vocabulary question?
The first old ship which Frank found was covered by rocks, older than he first. Thought is, would you imagine something or something like that?
Exactly. The past of think.
Okay, no.
Excellent. So, Jill, any question?
No, teacher.
Very good. Let's pass to number 2. Number 2, Sochil.
Question 3?
Question number 2.
Okay. Frank finds ships quickly because he
Just read.
because he I think it's option
Well,
option B.
But we don't know because we haven't played the audio. You know what I mean? We haven't played the audio, so only read the options.
Okay. Excuse me.
Yes.
Frank finds ships quickly because he, option A, reads history books. Option B, is a professional diver. Option C, uses the latest equipment.
Wait. How do you pronounce it? Similar. What equipment or what type of equipment did you say?
Uses the latest. The latest.
Exactly. That's correct. Perfect.
This is the latest equipment.
Yes, the latest equipment. Much better. All right. Vocabulary question?
No.
No? What is a diver then?
Diver is Is a person um, um, when when mm,
Try to. Vocabulary. When what?
I mm, mm,
Give me a verb. What does a diver do?
is a profession.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what do you do?
is a person who likes the sea.
Who likes the sea? Okay, well, that's possible. They like the sea, so they swim with equipment, with oxygen, and
Okay.
with, no, so they can explore the
Mhm.
ocean. So technically, it's similar to
Swim is the word.
exactly, swim is the word. Exactly, it's similar to explorer, but in the ocean, right? So you can imagine the
Okay.
context of the audio. We have the ocean, we have ships, we have everything. Let's pass to the next. Robert, number 3.
What does Frank say about the ship called the Seabird?
Excellent.
It was built in 1859.
Mhm.
It sank in a storm. It was badly made.
Great. Any question in this vocabulary?
Mhm. Sank.
Frank?
Sank.
Sank. Very good question. Sank is the past of sink. Here you have the vocabulary.
Sink. Go down below the surface. Okay.
What do you understand?
Down below the surface.
Mhm.
Mm,
What do you understand? What is sink?
For example, the diver sank.
Sank. Yeah, but that's an example. Okay, but we need to another example because divers don't sink. Sink is when it's accidental.
To go down below the surface. Towards to go down below the surface. For example. I sank the water in my desk.
I sank the water in my bed. No, 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 no.
No?
We need to think about uh, accidents.
Like Titanic.
Excellent pronunciation. Spanish. Titanic.
Titanic.
Titanic. That's right. So precisely, the Titanic sank in 1931.
Okay.
You see?
Mhm.
That's the way. Very good. Now we understand sink, present sink, past sank. Let's go to the next one. Sochil, number 4.
Frank says his wedding ring, option A, was made from gold he found himself.
Mm-hmm.
Option B is worth 8,800.
3
No,
zeros.
thousand.
Yeah.
88,000. How do you say euros?
Oh, in English is euros, but these are not euros. What is a coin in Britain? The British money.
Libra.
In Spanish. But in English, come on, in English. Anyone? Do you know?
No.
Pounds?
Excellent, Luis. The British pound
Pound.
Okay.
or the pound sterling. You see?
Pound. Okay.
Complete.
It's worth 88 pound sterling.
88.
88,000 pound
Exactly.
sterling.
Perfect.
And she was found by a friend.
Perfect. Vocabulary words. Vocabulary questions.
No. No, teacher.
No? Excellent. What is worth?
It's similar to courage.
Courage? Nope. Worth? I think you're confusing it with brave.
Okay.
Yeah. Worth is the value.
Oh, okay. I understand, teacher.
Right?
A price.
Exactly. Price or cost. Worth is the description and the concept is cost. Perfect. Number 5. Help me, Robert.
Frank's wife believes he should stop diving, give things to museums, sell some of his collection.
Vocabulary questions. That's easy, no?
Yes.
Okay. And the last one, Luis, help me.
How did Frank learn to dive? A, by joining a diving club. B, by going on a diving holiday. C, by teaching himself.
Right. That is correct. Do you have any question? The vocabulary?
No.
All right. So you, Luis, you will have another opportunity to do the exercise. Okay? Attention to the audio and answer. Verify your answers. In the case of Xochitl and Robert, answer them. You will have 2 opportunities to listen. I will play the audio twice. In the exam too, okay? In the exam, all the audios are twice. Ready?
Okay.
Let's go.
Now turn to part 2, questions 8 to 13. You will hear a man called Frank talking on the radio about looking for ships that sank at sea long ago. For each question, put a tick in the correct box. You now have 45 seconds to look at the questions for part 2. Now we are ready to start. Listen carefully. You will hear the recording twice.
Frank, tell us about some of the ships you've discovered.
Well, there's nothing quite like finding your first old ship. It was 300 years old. It was just lying at the bottom of the sea, so it wasn't difficult to find. Most are covered in sand and rocks, but this one wasn't. I'm actually a teacher, not a full-time diver. I dive in my free time, but I often get to them before the professional divers because I have good, up-to-date equipment. Another thing that helps is talking to fishermen who tell me about their local area. I've even written a book about some of their experiences. At the moment, I'm looking for the gold from a ship called the Seabird. It was an enormous, well-built ship, and it was coming from Australia on a winter night in 1859. Everything was going fine until the ship reached the English coast, when it crashed into some rocks in a very strong wind and sank to the bottom of the sea. It was carrying gold from Australia, and most of it is still at the bottom of the sea. My wedding ring is actually made from gold, which I found on an 18th century sailing ship. A friend of mine, another diver, has already found £88,000 worth of gold from different ships. He's now decided to give up his job and become a full-time diver. My house is full of things like coins, bottles, and old guns. My wife is always complaining about the number of objects around the house. She says I should open an antiques shop. But I love all these old things. Anyway, in the end, I gave some things from my collection to museums because I didn't want to sell them. But my wife still wasn't very pleased, I'm afraid. As diving is a dangerous hobby, it's not a good idea to try to teach yourself. I'd advise anyone interested to do what I did. There are some excellent diving clubs, like the one I joined, which run courses for beginners. It's best to do one of these before you go on a diving holiday.
This is the first play. Let's repeat.
Now we are ready to start. Listen carefully. You will hear the recording twice.
Frank, tell us about some of the ships you've discovered.
Well, there's nothing quite like finding your first old ship. It was 300 years old. It was just lying at the bottom of the sea, so it wasn't difficult to find. Most are covered in sand and rocks, but this one wasn't. I'm actually a teacher, not a full-time diver. I dive in my free time, but I often get to them before the professional divers because I have good, up-to-date equipment. Another thing that helps is talking to fishermen who tell me about their local area. I've even written a book about some of their experiences. At the moment, I'm looking for the gold from a ship called the Seabird. It was an enormous, well-built ship, and it was coming from Australia on a winter night in 1859. Everything was going fine until the ship reached the English coast, when it crashed into some rocks in a very strong wind and sank to the bottom of the sea. It was carrying gold from Australia, and most of it is still at the bottom of the sea. My wedding ring is actually made from gold, which I found on an 18th century sailing ship. A friend of mine, another diver, has already found £88,000 worth of gold from different ships. He's now decided to give up his job and become a full-time diver. My house is full of things like coins, bottles, and old guns. My wife is always complaining about the number of objects around the house. She says I should open an antiques shop. But I love all these old things. Anyway, in the end, I gave some things from my collection to museums because I didn't want to sell them. But my wife still wasn't very pleased, I'm afraid. As diving is a dangerous hobby, it's not a good idea to try to teach yourself. I'd advise anyone interested to do what I did. There are some excellent diving clubs, like the one I joined, which run courses for beginners. It's best to do one of these before you go on a diving holiday.
There you go. That was the audio. So let's practice. Okay, let's go through question number 3. What answer do you have, Robert?
Letter A.
Letter A. It was built in 1859.
Mm-hmm.
All right. How do you know that?
Because I can listen the year, and the letter B sank in the storm. He said sank in a rock, and the letter B is not possible. And he didn't say anything about the badly made.
I agree on letter C, but your reason for letter B doesn't make sense because you cannot sink in a rock.
Or he say storm. I listen rocks.
You
Or
heard rocks,
sank.
exactly. He sank, exactly. We agree that the ship sank, but why did he mention the rock? Yes, you are correct. He mentions the rock, but we need to connect this information. A very common mistake in this exam, in this type of tests, is they give you information in the options so you to test if you have the ability to connect the information. He expressed 1859, but he never said the ship was built in 1859.
Okay.
That's the trick. So let's listen again and let's find out.
Talking to fishermen who tell me about their local area. I've even written a book about some of their experiences. At the moment, there's nothing quite like finding your first old ship, bottom of the sea, so it wasn't difficult to find. But this one wasn't. I'm actually a teacher, not a full-time diver, because I have good, up-to-date equipment. I've even written a book about some of their experiences, called The Seabird. It was an enormous, well-built ship, and it was coming from Australia on a winter night in 1859.
Now turn to...
What did he say here?
In what part?
The last one. The last one that I played. Do you have it?
No.
Listen again.
Talking to fishermen who tell me about their local area. I've even written a book about some of their experiences. At the moment, I'm looking for the gold from a ship called the Seabird. It was an enormous, well-built ship, and it was coming from Australia on a winter night in 1859.
What did he say?
The ship was coming from Australia in 1959.
Excellent. Perfect. Excellent. So that information eliminates option A. You see? Now, the correct option is letter B.
Okay.
Right? Let's find out why. Attention.
And it was coming from Australia on a winter night in 1859. Everything was going fine until the ship reached the English coast.
So what do you have? Robert? There?
Yeah, I'm thinking. So I didn't listen
Mhm.
anything.
Anything? What do you mean?
Well, relationated,
Related.
relationated.
Related.
The correct word is related.
Related.
Okay, okay. Related with the letter B.
But what did he say? Because
He
sometimes you
said,
need context first.
he said something like the ship touched the England coast or something like that. English coast.
Nice, excellent. Yes. Don't paraphrase. Don't paraphrase. Use literal words. Yes, he said coast, but it's impossible he said England because England is a country.
Yeah.
What's the nationality? So what coast did you say?
English.
Complete? What coast?
English coast.
English coast. Listen again.
At the moment, I'm looking. Everything was going fine until the.
This.
She said everything is going fine.
Is it in this moment?
Everything. No, the past.
Exactly. You need to connect it with context because we are talking about 1859. The seabird in 1859. So everything.
Everything was.
Continue.
Everything was. Everything was going. I don't know.
How was it going?
Right?
Hmm.
No, no.
What expression do you say when I say how are you?
Everything was going fine.
Exactly. You need to associate this. If it's going fine, it's similar to say, hey, how are you? I am fine. You know, it's the same context. You know, everything was going fine, and then you have a connector.
And it was coming from Australia on a winter night in 1859. Everything was going fine until the.
And is the connector, no?
Is not a connector. It's an
No,
article.
and.
And. No, he never said and. What is expression? A contrasting expression when everything is going fine and then the situation changes.
Fine. Words bad.
Word bad, but this is not a connector. Word is not a connector. Bad is not a connector. You need a connector. Help, guys. What connector did he say? Nobody? Okay, listen again.
Australia on a winter night in 1859. Everything was going fine until the.
Okay, I listened and A and D.
You are imagining the D. What happened to the second syllable? Because and is only one syllable. What is the second syllable after that?
I can hear tell.
Tail, tail, Yes, okay. So this is a phonetic problem. Remember, what is the pronunciation of letter I in English?
Letter I, E.
Incorrect. E. And tail. So here the issue are the phonetics. Confusing E and E makes you confuse letters I and E.
Tell and tell.
Exactly. That's why you hear tell. And you are imagining tell when it's a very, very different phonetic. The phonetic is tell, tell. And this is tail.
Tell. Okay.
You see? Listening to until, when you hear until, you can imagine that the next information is the accident.
Okay.
Until what?
Now turn to pole-built ship, rocks in a very until the ship reached the English coast. When it crashed into some rocks in a very strong wind,
Ship reached the English coast.
And what happened?
Crashed
with what?
with the rocks.
With rocks. Where?
In the coast?
In the coast? No, he never said coast. Listen again.
was going fine until the ship reached the English coast. When it crashed into some rocks in a very strong wind.
In a very strong wind.
In a very strong wind. This very strong wind is a storm.
Yeah.
Got it?
Yes.
That's why the full part of the full story is necessary to be understood. When he reached the coast, when the strong wind moved the ship, and the ship crashed to the rocks. And the next information helps too. The next information is
and sank to the bottom of the sea.
And sank to the bottom of the sea, consequence of the strong wind. That's why listening is fundamental here. It's like similar to the exercises, the gossip exercises, but together. You know, it's the same ability. That was the option letter B. So let's go to number 4. Sochil, what answer do you have on number 4?
I think is option A.
Option A. All right. And how do you know it's option A?
In the audio, he said his wedding ring made from the gold.
Incomplete. Made is a description. What is necessary?
Okay. was made
So complete. What did he say in the audio?
in the audios. He said
Mhm.
mm, his wedding ring
Ring.
was made um, from from gold um, that he found in in ship.
Exactly. Specific ship.
In the ship.
In the ship. Wow. What an excellent, excellent summary. Yes, you are correct. He found gold in the ship in one of his explorations, and then he made a wedding ring for his wife. Option A. Wow, so chill. That was very good. That was a difficult part. Very good. Let's pass to the next one. Luis, number 5. Luis, are you there?
Oh, yes, I'm here.
Perfect. Okay, so what is the answer to the next one?
So,
Do you have it?
I think that Frank's wife believes he should stop diving.
Stop diving? That is incorrect. Oh, brother. In a moment, we are going to check the answer. Let's pass attendance. Attention to Jessie. Hello, Jessie.
Okay, good night.
Good night, girl.
I will say attendance, please.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Luis?
I'm here, yes.
Hi, Luis, thank you. Mike? No, Mike, no.
Mike absent.
Robert?
Hello.
Hi, Robert, thank you. Sochi?
Present, Jessie.
Hi, Sochi. Thank you. And Cés.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Cés, thank you.
Hi, thank you too.
Thank you. So that's all. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Excellent.
Thank
You too.
Bye.
Yes.
All
Good night,
right.
yes.
So let's listen to the next
Bye.
part to see what was the answer. Attention, Luis.
Ship reached the English coast when it crashed into some rocks in a very... My wedding ring is actually made from gold, which I found on an 18th century sailing ship. A friend of mine, another diver, coins, bottles, is full of things like coin. My house is full of things like coins.
Okay, this is the context. Okay? What did he say here, Luis?
He said that his house is full
In this moment, are you gossiping or looking
No.
at information?
At this moment, no?
At this moment, well, remember, yes, it's probably in this moment, but you are gossiping. You cannot gossip in present.
Oh, okay, yes. He said that his house, it was very full of coins and change.
And change, continue.
Bottles and old guns.
I don't understand the last word.
The last word? What's the name of the thing you use for pirates?
Okay, guns.
Guns, exactly. So listen again.
Now decided to give up his job and bottles and old guns.
And old guns?
And old guns, exactly.
And old guns.
His house has a lot of findings. No? Old guns, bottles, coins, chains, a lot of things. This is the context for the problems with the wife. Check.
Yes.
My wife is always complaining about the number of objects around.
Oh, can you repeat, please?
Okay.
That part?
My house is full of things like coins, bottles, and old guns. My wife is always complaining about the number of objects around.
Is she sell some of his collection?
No, first give me the audio. You are going directly. No, help me. What did he say? I think I repeat.
Yes.
My wife is always complaining about.
And his wife? Was complaining?
Perfect. Complaining. And the connector for complaining is?
Was for complaining?
No. Connector for complaining. When you complain about. You complain of, you complain at, and you complain about. The connector, when you are speaking about a problem, you complain. Connector.
Complain. Oh, complain about.
Complain about. Listen again.
Give up his job and become bottles and old guns. My wife is always complaining about the number of objects around the house.
Okay. His wife was complaining about.
Was complain.
Was complain about.
Was needs an ing.
Okay. Was complaining.
Excellent.
Was complaining. Was complaining about. For all the things.
Exactly.
For all the things. The house, exactly.
Exactly. So this is only the context, and the options that you have is letter B, give things to museums, or letter C, sell the collection. The two options match the context. Letter A doesn't match the context.
Exactly.
Right? So that you can eliminate letter A for the context. Let's check what is.
She says I should open an antiques shop.
She said,
Uh-huh.
actually.
Actually.
No.
Continue.
Actually, for
Okay, new vocabulary, brother. This is vocabulary new, necessary. Eliminate actually. Pronunciation.
antique.
Stress in the second syllable. Antique.
Antique.
Exactly. If you examine antique, the noun
Antique.
is an object that is old but is valuable.
Mm-hmm. Like the guns, chains, and not guns, no?
Exactly. So we are talking about old objects that you can
Mm-hmm. You can get money.
Let me show you, man, an antique shop. This is an example of an antique shop. A store
yes.
with antiques.
Oh. Yes.
So
okay,
listen
okay.
to the recommendation of the wife.
My wife is always complaining about the number of objects around the house. She says I should open an antiques shop.
Okay.
So what
She said, she said,
auxiliary for recommendation.
to put auxiliary for she said they should.
Exactly, they should. What?
They should to put.
So contrary for close.
Oh, to open. She said they should to open.
Oh, grammar. Should never takes connector to.
Okay. She said they should open an antique shop.
Exactly. Confirmation.
An antique shop?
Yes.
My wife is always complaining. She says I should open an antiques shop.
You see?
Definitely is C.
Correct. Definitely it's C. Because we are talking about selling a portion of the collection in an antique shop.
Yes.
That's correct. Jesus, I know this listening is fantastic because it's one idea after the other, after the other, after the other. I really recommend that you do different exercises on the weekend. Okay? And I will pass you the link to practice different audios. Please practice them. Super important. Okay?
Okay.
All right, Cesar, you didn't hear the audio in the two classes. So, do you have any information or did you see the previous class?
Yeah, teacher.
Right? What answer do you have in number 6?
Number B, be going on a TV holiday.
Wait, number is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's A, B, C, D, E, F, G? They are the alphabet. What?
B.
No, but you said number. I am confused. Number or alphabet?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Letter B.
Letter B. By going on a diving holiday, You are incorrect.
My God.
He didn't learn to dive by going on a living holiday. Let's listen. You have 4 minutes, eh? Hurry up.
Yeah, teacher.
Bottles and old guns. Might sell them. But my wife still wasn't very pleased. There are some excellent diving clubs, like the one I joined, which run courses.
What information do you have?
Okay, he said joining excellent diving club.
He said joining. Grammar. Check your structure.
Yeah.
You're correct, eh? It's option A, but now speak correctly.
Yeah, he said he was joining.
He was joining. Grammatically is impossible. No, contextually is impossible because you cannot join repeatedly. You cannot join and join and join and join and join.
Yeah.
So you cannot say was joining.
Okay, please repeat this part for audio, teacher.
Diving clubs, like the one I joined, which
Oh my God.
Okay. For the time, I'm going to pass you the answer. It says, you should join a diving club, comma, like the one I joined. Like the one I joined. Do you understand this?
He literally said I'm joining.
No, he didn't say I am joining. He said you should join. You should join
Oh,
a
okay.
diving club.
Okay.
Comma, like the one I joined.
Okay, I understand.
So in the past, he joined a diving club, and that's why he learned to dive.
Yeah.
Option
I understand.
A. That is the option.
Yeah, because he recommended joining.
Joining, no, recommended joining. Recommend needs an ing.
Recommended.
The verb recommend need an ing.
Okay, recommend.
Recommend in past.
Recommend.
In past.
Recommended.
Recommended.
Joining.
Joining,
a diving club.
Exactly. Like who?
He joined the excellent diving club.
Exactly. Like him. You see?
Yeah, teacher.
So, switch to Spanish. Este ejercicio es igualito al que vamos a ver en el examen. Una de las cosas que de hecho estaba hablando, por ejemplo, con Janice, es que yo los consiento demasiado al repetirles el audio tantas veces. Pero los traigo súper consentidos. El audio solo se reproduce 2 veces, te dan 20 segundos para responder y vámonos al siguiente, ¿eh? Los ejercicios duran, el ejercicio del listening completo dura 20 minutos. En 20 minutos se van 4 partes. La parte 1 que fueron la de las fotos, la 2 que es esta, la 3 que es la que vamos a ver mañana y la 4 que es un texto completo. 20 minutitos. Se van rapidísimo.
Wow.
Exactamente. Entonces, todas esas repeticiones y repeticiones y repeticiones que les he hecho, eso es tratarlos, pero demasiado bien, porque los exámenes están muy, muy, muy limitantes en repeticiones. Tengan eso en mente una vez que hagan este tipo de ejercicios. Y les voy a dejar una tarea. Durante todo el fin de semana quiero que hagan el listening varias veces. Les voy a dejar varios links para que practiquen. Porque la próxima semana vamos a ver puro uso del lenguaje. ¿Vale?
Ok, teacher.
Very good, my people. A practicar. Nos vemos el día de mañana. See you tomorrow.
¿Cuándo es el examen, teacher?
El 19, lunes 19, aplicamos el examen. Tiene una duración. ¿Cómo?
¿Va a haber vacaciones?
Ah, sí, por supuesto que sí, ya nos surgen. Qué bueno que preguntaste. Salimos de vacaciones el día 16, supuestamente, pero les debo una clase. Entonces, el 16 vamos a hacer parte 1 del examen y el 19 vamos a hacer parte 2.
Ok.
En la parte 1, la hora y media de la clase, vamos a cubrir uso del lenguaje y reading, lectura. Y en la parte 2 vamos a cubrir listening y speaking. ¿Vale?
Ok, teacher.
Estos exámenes son normalmente de 3 horas y a nosotros nos alcanza perfectamente las dos clases para terminarlo. Y regresamos a clases el día 2 de enero.
Va que va.
Que es lunes. ¿Vale?
Ok, teacher.
That's it, my people. Muchísimo éxito. Pónganse a estudiar y les paso sus links más tarde. Ahorita yo tengo que correr una clase.
Está bien.
Buenas noches a todos.
See you. Good night, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.